I want to talk about cities and how they influence people's futures. I find it's not so much a country game, but a city game. Not what country you're born in, but what city you choose to live in. You see this historically, in Paris during the Impressionist painters, or Florence during the Renaissance. You can find this throughout all of history, the Hanseatic League. But I want to talk about modern day United States because that's what I know the best. And hopefully you'll find this thoughtful champagne for your brain to sip on. So in any large city, there's a messaging, an ethos that is sent out to all its residents. After all, a city is just a collection of people, a large collection of people. And that messaging isn't explicit. Often it's more just like a frequency that goes into a radio inside your brain that you do not have the ability to turn off. And over time, that frequency starts to shape your opinions and your priorities, just as it shapes all the people around you in that city. And they feed off of each other. And so certain cities send out a certain frequency. LA sends out a different frequency than New York, which sends out a different frequency than DC or San Francisco. But each of these sends out a strong frequency, a messaging. New York's might be finance or media, journalism. San Francisco or Silicon Valley might be startups and technology. LA might be fame, how you look. What about DC? DC is probably more about who you know. All these set the priority for what you feel is important. And so when you're growing up and you're thinking, I want to do something great, that's fine. But if you really want to amplify your odds of doing something great, you should choose a city that fits what you want to do. Because cities offer two important things. They offer peers and an audience. And any sort of creative endeavor requires those two components. You need to be around other like-minded people. One, so you don't just get discouraged in your own work. If you're just working in Arkansas on a new form of painting and nobody else cares about it, you're going to find it harder to continue doing that than you would, say, in Paris. And you also need an audience in creative work. You need to have people view your work. Good artists ship, right? And so having a built-in audience in specific cities, whether that's San Francisco with a new startup, new codes, new websites, or New York with a new book or a new magazine, those audiences lay the groundwork for you to succeed in your creative endeavor. I remember moving to New York City, and at the time the building seemed infinite, and the people I worked with at my first job were creative and clever, and everybody's apartment was small and cramped, and people were either looking for new roommates or moving or subletting, and everything just happened at such a frenetic pace that my mind, for once, that was always moving, felt like it was finally in gear. There's some of the greatest people, truest people you ever meet in Kansas. But in terms of journalism or making videos, you're just not going to find that many people. And if you want to do something creative or artistic in your town, and there's just not people around you that want to do the same thing, move. When you reach a city that is on the same frequency that you are, you might feel more at home with that new city than you ever did at your hometown. And I think that's a really special place to be at. So I would encourage, if you're out there thinking about is LA for me? San Francisco? Will I like there? If your heart's saying probably, then let me say yes, you will. And this is why I think cities are so influential in a person's life and a person's future career. It doesn't really matter what country you're born in or what city you're born in or town. It matters where you move. And, if we just take the Renaissance, for instance, all the great painters and people came out of Florence. Why Florence? Well, one, they all flocked there. But two, I'm sure there was people of equal talent in other Italian city-states, like Venice and other places. But they all seem to come out of Florence, not Milan. Why Florence? Well, after a while, there's a frequency in Florence during the Renaissance. And that frequency amplified the people there and allowed them to become truly great. And you see this with London in the Industrial Revolution, and you see this with Silicon Valley, right? Well, why are all the startups in Silicon Valley? Well, it's a frequency that feeds on each other. And so I encourage anybody who's thinking about doing something creative to think about the cities they have accessibility to or would like to move to, because that will amplify your chance at succeeding in your creative endeavor. So how does this relate back to journalism or media? Well, this is in part why the commentariat, the kind of media class, generally exists in New York City. New York City sends out a frequency, just as it sends out a frequency for finance and why it's a financial capital of the world. It sends out a frequency for media, and it's a media publishing capital of the world. And so in journalism, if you really want to do great things in journalism, you'll find it hard, not impossible, but hard, or at least harder, to do it in Arkansas or Colorado Springs than you would moving to New York. You may also have a greater time doing it in New York because you'll be around fellow peers. Something to consider if you're thinking about journalism. Anyway, that's just thoughts for today. You can click around for another video, like, subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.